Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to look at the sketcher within SolidWorks. In order to have a really good 3D model, you have to have a good sketch. And when I say good sketch, I'll tell you what I mean by good sketch. Let's just click on the front plane quickly. If I can go onto the sketch environment like so, and tell you what, I want to hide all these planes. I don't want to look at these planes. They can be distracting at times. For today's lesson, I just want to hide them so that I'm looking at this gray space, and I want to draw a few things. So we are in sketch environment now. If you can remember from last video, there are telltale signs on this screen that says we are in the sketch environment. The correct unit type, let's just say, I'm sure you remember from last week that we managed to create a cylinder based on a circle. So basically, if you wanted to draw a circle, you click here and you see your cursor changing from just an arrow symbol to a a pencil with a circle attached to it. And I'm free to click now and drag out, and that gives me a circle. If I wanted to come out of circle tool, I can press escape, or I can select any other tool from here. So I'm going to press escape. I like to use both of my hands, so I'm going to press escape like so, select the line tool, and now I can draw a line. So I can, that's the starting point. That's where I wanted it to end, so on and so forth. To draw a rectangle, I can select the rectangle tool from here, and it gives me a few choices really. I can, let's zoom into that area. I can draw a rectangle which is from corner to corner, so it's called a corner rectangle. I can have rectangle from center point to corner. I can have a rectangle which is three corner rectangle, really 3-point corner rectangle as the name suggests. Or we can have this particular type of rectangle, or we can have rhombus or parallelogram. I want you guys to pay attention to these numbers here. These numbers, they actually indicate the sequence of clicks. So to draw a corner to corner rectangle, you basically click once for that corner and click again to commit to the extent of the rectangle. If you wanted to draw a center to corner rectangle, you're going to click for the center point of the rectangle and then for the corner, and so on and so forth for all of these commands. So let's just stick to the simple one. I'm going to draw myself a simple little rectangle, a corner to corner rectangle. I'm going to delete this line and the circle, so I can simply select and hit delete on the keyboard, or function backspace if you're using this on a Mac. I'm going to focus in that region only. So as you can realize, I mean, we can delete entity by selecting and deleting. A rectangle, it's a bunch of lines basically, so 4 lines arranged in such a manner it appears as a rectangle. If I were to select this line on the left hand side, we have all the information about this line. So this line has a horizontal relationship, so in space it is aligned horizontally. This line is about that long and it is inclined at that angle. If I were to select this line here, I can again read out the info on the left hand side in the properties, property manager space. We have the line is aligned vertically. We have information about the length and the inclination of that line, so on and so forth. So we can do this for all the elements in our sketcher. If you were to look at this sketch here, we have these little green indicators, green icons. So we have one over here, green icon with a vertical black line, a green icon with a horizontal line, vertical over here and horizontal over here. What that means is basically you don't need to interrogate every element by selecting and looking at the left hand side. Basically we can just look at this drawing here, and well, I can tell that line is constrained to be horizontal, that line is constrained to be vertical, this line is constrained to be horizontal, and this is vertical again. So that gives us some information about those lines. If I wanted to free up these lines or any of these elements, I can select that relationship from there, and I can hit delete on the keyboard like so, or I can go Control Z and bring that back. I can select the line, I can right click the space and I can delete that relationship there. Same effect, different ways to go. So let's just see what happens when I drag onto this line. This rectangle, it's still flexing. It will flex in a certain manner. It will always flex in such a way that it will obey all of these constraints. It will never violate those relationships. We can grab onto this line, we can move it like so, and the rectangle is allowed to shrink or stretch itself, but doing that it will not violate these relationships. These lines, these elements will always stay horizontal and vertical. Let's just see what happens when I grab onto the endpoint. I can still do both of them actions in one go. It will move in this certain fashion. So if I were to select this relationship or the constraint, and if I were to delete that from the keyboard, let's see what happens if I try and grab that. Right, it moves in that way. So we are introducing complexity in the system now. Let's just leave it at that. I want to select this point and delete that. So that constraint is gone now, and we want to see how that behaves. This is looking, it's a very flexy rectangle now. We can do this for all of these constraints. Function backspace on the keyboard, and I can delete this constraint as well to see how that behaves. Right, so on and so forth. So for instance, you wanted this line to be horizontal again, so you can select that line. From the heads up bar, you can make it horizontal. That's one option. Or from the left hand side, you can click horizontal, which should make this line horizontal. There we go. I wanted to make this line vertical, so I can select that. I can select make vertical from the heads up bar. Select that, make it vertical from over there, and I can select this line. I can make it horizontal like so, and I can still resize that to get the original rectangle. What happens, I want to see what happens when I push my luck. Basically, I made that line horizontal, I know that. I want to see how SolidWorks behaves if I select that line and I try to make it vertical. I just want to see what happens when I do that. So if I do, there we go. We have few errors on the screen. Unsolvable, no solution found, item is unsolvable, the item conflicts. On the left hand side in the properties manager, we have conflicting relationship. So it says we can have the line either horizontal or vertical. We can't have both. So let's be reasonable. I want to right click, delete one of them relationship, and it's all a happy story now. Everything's looking nice and green. No complaints. So we have looked at ways of selecting an element, interrogating the properties from the left hand side to be able to select and delete. So how to manipulate the constraints and how to add constraints. So right click, add constraints from the left hand side, so on and so forth. Let's just see if we can select the line tool from here. Now I have few options. I can click for the start point of the line. If I were to move my cursor over here somewhere, my cursor changes to that angle symbol, which gives me 135 degrees. So if I were to just carry on going in this direction, I know that I'm drawing that line at 135 degrees at that magnitude. If I were to go over here somewhere, it gives me somewhat similar effect, 45 degrees. Similarly, we have 45 degrees over here and over here as well. If I were to bring my cursor over here, so somewhere where SolidWorks thinks that I'm trying to draw a vertical line, it is that particular zone where if I bring my cursor over there, it gives me a vertical option. So if I do this, it makes that line vertical, and if I were to click now, that means I wanted to draw that line vertical, and SolidWorks is helping me get there basically. If I were to bring my cursor over here somewhere, left hand side, on the right hand side, that yellow indicator which is next to the pencil symbol, that again, that is an indicator of horizontal line. So if I were to click now, it gives me a horizontal line. If I click, go over there, that's going to give me a horizontal line vertical line over here, horizontal line, and vertical line, so on and so forth. So you may say, what do we do with this information? First of all, we can create entities as needed. So if I want to draw a horizontal line, I can click and then look out for the indicator and click again when that is horizontal, and I can give it some sort of a magnitude using smart dimension. Or I can draw, not that short, I can draw a random line and I can make it horizontal, whichever suits you best. So I can select that line, make it horizontal from here. It's one and the same thing. Whichever approach is relaxed for you, you can use that. You can draw a line, not worry about any of the feedback coming from the cursor, and then you can go back in, make it horizontal as and when needed. So if that suits you, go for it. Taking that a step further, if I were to go into the line tool again, you can see this dashed line. It's giving me some sort of feedback. So if I were to click now, I'll be vertically under that point, and my cursor shows that I'm vertically under that point there. If I were to click now, that is yet again confirmed by that yellow projector line. If I were to go along this yellow projector line, I'm not sure you can see this on your screen. You need to have really good contrast for that. I can see a yellow projector line, and it gives me some sort of easy approach to go 90 degrees to the home position. So I'm going to click now, and that's another way. Let's just see what we can do with circles. I can box select all of this, and I can hit delete on the keyboard, and that goes away. You can treat this like any other Windows product. Box select and delete on the keyboard works. Let's just see what we can do with, well, a bunch of lines really. So I'm going to create 2 lines. I can't click today. They are intentionally different lengths, and they are intentionally not parallel to each other. So if I were to just to get this end out open, the line has got an endpoint there, so I'm selecting on an endpoint. This is the actual element, so this is the entire line, and there is another endpoint there, just so we know. So sometimes I'll be clicking at the endpoints, and sometimes I'm clicking on the actual line. So we have this endpoint here and here. This is the actual element. So if I were to select this endpoint here and control select this endpoint on the other line, on the left hand side in the properties manager, we have a couple of options. We have a choice to make those 2 points horizontal. So let's see what happens when I click that. Right, so those points, that line, actually the longer line shrunk to obey that relationship. So what happens when I grab onto this and try and move it? The other line moves along. These are kind of related. They are not connected quite literally, but these are related. So if I were to drop that, try and move this line, well, same effect. We can even do this. So we have constrained the endpoint at the same horizontal level. I want to delete that horizontal relationship, and in fact I want to see what happens when I apply a vertical relationship. There's a vertical relationship there. That looks more like the merge relationship. Let me make sure that I didn't click merge by mistake. Let's start again with these 2 lines. So I'm going to select that endpoint, control select this endpoint here. I'm going to select vertical, make them vertical. The reason horizontal is it's bolder than vertical or fixed or merge, because SolidWorks is prompting us to make it horizontal if you wanted to, because they are more or less, well, they are more horizontal than vertical, I suppose. I'm not sure if it makes any sense, but it's trying to help us in a certain way. I'm going to make it vertical by hitting this icon here. So those 2 points are exactly above each other, and I'm dragging one of these endpoints to see the effect. These can still flex freely. There's no relationship. Well, we can do that. Right, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to give that final option a go. So instead of vertical, let's see what happens when I hit merge. And as you can guess, merge will connect those points together. So I can do this again, two lines connected with each other at that point. I'm going to control Z out of it.